Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and today is Friday, May the 8th, 2020. And yay, I get to be with my gal pal posse on a Friday night. BZ Rieger and Lisa Flameno Rush. I'm so glad you guys could hang out this evening. We've been chatting a little bit before we started. And so I love BZ's topic for tonight. Because it's time to wake the fuck up. Yeah, I said it. That's right. I said it.
You did too.
Well, you know, I had a conversation with Sophia Love earlier today too, and the deal is that the choosing time is upon us. So I think one's words, we were discussing the metaphor of the mask, and one's words were that before this cycle is through, before this cycle is ended, you will make a decision as to whether or not you will adhere to the calling of your essence.
Right.
And so for me, that's also translated as wake the fuck up.
Well, actually, the title that I was given is Ourselves Are Asking Us to Wake the Fuck Up.
Ah. Okay, ourselves are asking us to wake the fuck up. Well, I know mine sure has. You know, so. And I want to preface this entire conversation.
And obviously a linear representation, but you know.
Too true. I want to preface it by saying it is still and always will be a choice for everyone. And there will be those who have chosen not to.
Right.
And you know, unfortunately, there almost all of us will have at least one loved one or family member or friend.
Yeah, maybe
whatever.
maybe a stunner to you, you know, the ones that you thought, okay, they're never, and they are, and then someone else you thought absolutely, and they're not.
Right.
So maybe maybe a stunner.
Yep. A big surprise as to who's actually going to be able. Listen, I feel that, and I realize that Lisa and I have witnessed that. It's happened, I'm sure, to multiple people. That, you know, folks get right up to the line. Mm-hmm. It's like you think they're going there. I mean, it looks like the trajectory is, you know, because they seem like they're on board. They feel like they're getting it and they're on board and they want to go. But sometimes it's just, you know, it's just merely a choice. And, you know, for me, I finally get it now. Because like I was saying with Sophia, I don't want anybody choosing anything for me. I'll do all my own choosing. Thank you very much. And so I get it. And my hat's off if that's good.
Well, there's that, you know, don't push me I can, it's my decision, right? You know,
right.
Yeah,
nope, absolutely.
But anyways, that was the title that came, as we are asking ourselves to wake the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And as it's an inside job,
that's a good thing, right?
I just thought I'd throw that in.
That's right. No external pushing. It's all right in here.
Yeah. Oh, for heaven's sakes, I'm pushing me plenty. So I don't know about you guys, but yeah, the push, the internal impetus.
Yeah, the drive for me now. It's the driver.
Yeah.
Of my ship. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and the funny thing was, because we were talking about it and I was describing that the title hadn't come into decode the way it does. And and then we were talking and I said, okay. And it was funny because I was told something and I answered back thinking, well, it sounds like we're asking ourselves to wake the fuck up. And then, yeah, right. That's exactly it. I was like, okay.
I mean, might as well just full on admit it.
That's
Yes, we are.
So we're
and
going linear.
Yep,
in a multi-dimensional way.
Well, and I submit for everyone's review or whatever that even those that one might classify asleep, which I hate that term, but I don't know what else to call it because it felt like waking up to me. I honestly feel like some of the confusion, the fear, the chaos that some of us may witness and feel and sort of even just notice in another being could be a direct result of their own essence. Just like we just said, we are asking ourselves,
right?
There's a lot of folks that may be experiencing things within that they don't really quite grok on some level. And I really feel like that is a possibility. That's might be what one could witness in another being that's just not real sure of what they're experiencing.
So you're talking about one may label something as indecision, and they're just trying to figure out, navigate what's going on and what they're seeing.
Of course, because I not being someone who's not awake right now, it's really hard for me to. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm putting myself in another's shoes for a moment, and yet using my own feelings of how it might feel. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if I didn't really know any of what I think I know right here, how I mean, right up here. Yeah, I know that I know a lot of stuff back here. But if I didn't know a lot of the stuff that I have taken from, because you got to even be at an intellectual exercise point for some, right? Some of it. Maybe not, but I feel like when you're talking about we're asking ourselves to wake up, then if you have absolutely no clue as to what you're experiencing and some pretty wild and trippy stuff starts happening, and exactly, and a lot of what's going on in the out there, we see chaos, we see fear.
Well, yeah, but think about it. A lot of, since what I think we decided that that demarcation line really was the 13th of March. There's a lot of trippy stuff going. If you're not used to it, you're going.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm
because
really
there's because sure. You don't. That's right. You don't have the backstory. It doesn't make. What's interesting to me is that if I was asleep, I'd look around and I'd go, well, okay, I'm a little, got a little trepidation going on here, but I can't even be scared about this because it just doesn't make sense. I mean, if it, right, there's so many things that don't add up. It's like a B movie.
Right. I'm having the feeling, and I could be completely wrong because I'm not exposed to a whole lot of folks a whole lot of folks, period. But the other thing is, even here locally, anyone that I might be able to speak with, I haven't been able to talk to anyone that I could get a real good gauge on, right? But I was feeling into it for myself. And if you take someone, like you were saying, that looks around and says, okay, wait a minute, I don't get what's going on. That is at least a questioning. And that is, for me, someone who who is asking themselves to wake up, because at
Yeah.
that point
And they're
asking
following the
questions.
directive.
They're looking around going, okay, wait a minute,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what the F, right?
Yeah, they're doing a lot of this.
Right? None of this actually makes sense. But I also feel there are those that are in full-on fear, believing everything that's being said by the
I can absolutely I could tell I can't, but I could if I wasn't
Well, and I want to say,
chapter and verse that they are. Yeah.
there's layers to that fear too, because we met someone today that expressed some knowledge perhaps of some conspiracies.
yeah, that was a very
and
interesting interaction, I have to say.
yeah, and was in the know, right? But also was afraid, very afraid that all of his rights were being usurped. Because when you first see it, you think, it hasn't happened yet, it's going to happen. And right now, if you wake up, apparently it looks like it's happening right now.
Right.
Like everything was great until
Yeah,
right now.
Right.
Right now is the big problem.
Hence, we're asking ourselves to wake the fuck up, because this has been going on for a long. This is not like we almost got to this point. We were at this point. People just were so la la la, they weren't figuring it out. And one of the reasons that it's so imperative, vital, essential, I could come up with lots and lots of different words, that we come to consciousness enough to choose, as you had mentioned, that I haven't heard the recording yet, but as you had mentioned that Sophia, in your conversation, was about, that choice point, that it's essential that we come to consciousness enough to go to cognitively make that choice.
Right. And it can be this simple too. For instance, going back to this person expressing the fear about what was happening. And I said, don't worry about the fake news. Look around. And I was pointing to that the three of us were having this conversation in our yard, right? I said, love is the solution here. Love is the answer to all of this.
Right.
And so we'll ignore the fake news and we'll solve all the problems by turning to one another in love. And he looked at us and was like, yeah, like he felt what I was trying to describe. And that's kind of the choice point. It could be that simple, where you're just deciding to go with love in every moment as everything that you're looking at.
Well, that's what we're doing, is we're everybody's doing it to some extent, consciously or not, doesn't really matter in the little bit that they're doing it, of where they're surfing the different emotions. They're surfing maybe the splinters or the absolute sharpest shards of the polarization, because it's getting, before it all comes down and comes back together, it has to get hyper polarized, because that's part of the mechanism for all those many beings who haven't woken the fuck up yet, right? To you get poked in the shoulder, poked in the head, poked in the ass, you're gonna, what do you mean? As I said earlier, what do you mean you're shutting my beach down? What are you, right? So, but the reason that's so important is because as we do that, we're collapsing the duality. We're collapsing the super polarized, super dense, dark, dragging in. So that feeling of being dragged in by fear or pissed offness or whatever. I mean, you know, it's a whole range of things.
Yeah.
We're collapsing that because in the new landscape that's already here, that we're stepping and moving into more, you know, some of us are already there, but more and more and more are moving in more to that landscape, a new vibrational landscape. And there is a little bit of duality, a little bit of polarization. It's nowhere near, you know, dark to light that we have here, but it's a complementary one. So just enough to give you some choice points, just enough to let you see things from a slightly different vantage point, especially as you're getting more and more in sync with, in a full embodiment way of having multi-locational consciousness, of having be able to hold all of you, just the shirt perspective and what you're going on, and then your broader consciousness aspects. But so if we look at something and we go, what happened to my country that was free and fair and there was a justice system and all those kinds of things, but note to self, no, there never was. It's just, you know, now you're just saying, all of a sudden they think from one moment, from one day to the next, it's changed. No, it's just now that the beast is dying, you know, and it's gnashing his teeth and lashing out. There is no hidden in plain sight anymore. It's just in plain sight.
Well, and this is like the shattering of the illusion of what was, right? Because for myself, I can say that really happened for me. And it happened in stages and sort of bite-sized pieces as I look back and reflect upon it now. I clearly see that. But going through it, it was really huge. Like I just was like, oh, I just dropping huge chunks off right and left. But it was because I was able to observe something and then go, wow, I really held the belief deep inside of me that we had a justice system and that truth prevails and love always wins, right? And so that was a huge misnomer that I was leading my life with, right? I was walking through my life with that perspective, that focus. That was a complete misnomer. And so it was shattering and it was jarring to me to realize the truth, to see it for myself. And the realization came from in here. And then that was like this whole secondary thing that happened simultaneously is suddenly that silent, and I keep saying silent voices can't tell you things. But the quiet, the soft, still voice, the confident, but not the loudest voice in the room, I have to point out, was right, you know, and I knew it all along. I just silently, and again with the silence, what is that? I just,
well, maybe the differential in the decibel level,
but right? Inside of me
seems silent. But that's why it's so important right this moment, because as you talked about, you know, it was devastating with the thing.
Yes.
But even people who've gone through that, the breadth and depth and scope of, so if you take that example that you gave about the justice system, so the breadth and the depth and the scope of the shattering of the illusion on every level, every layer, every system, every structure, right?
Yeah.
Everything will make that you described, and a lot of people can, you know, they can relate to that, absolutely. But it will make that feel like just a little tiny bit of fluff of nothing compared to what You know,
The
it's coming.
tsunami.
Yes. In everything, every sphere of life, every.
Well, it's the fabric that holds us, this collective reality all together.
Right. So that's why, again, it's important to write. So someone said, well, how do you do that? Well, if you're looking at something and it's making you really angry that rights are being taken away, or a combination of, we'll take this one for a minute, a combination of seriously angry and seriously afraid.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what is happening? And
Yep.
this is like, you know, this is like, people can say, well, this is like, and they reach back in time, something in Nazi, this or that or the other, or China, or so on and so forth. And it's even more alienating because as that cognitive envelope opens, the more they realize, wait a minute, this isn't just happening. This has been here for a while, and I fell for it all this time, right? But then it's the next thing, and the next thing, and all the next things right this moment are the surface next things. That's what I'm trying to say. They're the superficial next things, the more inconsequential compared to the whole ball of wax next things. You know, even in the trafficking systems, you know, as hard and dark and depraved, you know, from a linear perspective, those are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those still are just more on the outskirts. For a lot of people, one of the biggest wounds will be, you know, as they have to leap over it, is a financial slavery system. And even bigger than that. And again, some people they'll just see it. It'll be a pow. It'll be processing. They'll get it. The light will rush in, and they, you know, then they're off flying dragons and all that kind of stuff pretty seamlessly. But like I said, the above the fold, it's going to be, that's the, for a majority of people, that's going to really knock their boat in ways that's pretty unfathomable.
Yeah.
And coming to the realization that they've been actually enslaved when they thought they weren't. Is that
well, that's the lower of the fold. I'm talking about the truth of who they are.
Oh, okay. Right.
You know, that they're not.
Why all of this was required in the first place.
Right.
That they're not small, and they're not missing anything, and that they're a kick-ass creative being.
Right.
And the good news is we're at the end of it, and that's why we all know about it, and that's why we're talking about it today, and that's why we're choosing love.
Right.
No, because I feel like this is that critical moment now.
It is.
Where it doesn't matter how confusing or what's happening. It's always easy for myself. This is what I'm doing. I'm really looking at what is swinging into my field of experience, because that's for me to own in this moment of now. And I'm doing that. I'm really looking at and loving and appreciating all that is in my field for this moment of now. And not all of it's beautiful, and not all of it is comfortable, but it's beautiful to know that I am here now for this gorgeous opportunity to integrate all of me and to make choices consciously, to use all of me, to be alert and aware of what all of me is doing at all times, and to be a greater gift in each moment. And no matter how confusing anything looks to me right now, I always remember what love feels like. And when I look around at the faces in the room, I can see, sense, and feel that pure love, that essence of who and what I am in the eyes of my family.
Yeah.
And that is really the piece here that is so easy. It's so not complicated. It's so innate to know what love is, that true essential allowance of yourself and everything that's happening, because that will allow all of this illusion to dissolve very quickly. And as it does so, we can really look to each other to co-create what we wish to experience next. And, you know, whatever that is in each moment, we'll just joyfully co-create solutions. So
Yeah,
an exciting moment that we have here, the opportunity to embrace what's coming and release what's leaving at the same time.
Yeah.
You painted a great picture of unmasking the distortion. You know, when you said, I wish I could have plugged in the videos that came, but when you said you look and look around the room, and regardless of what's going on, you can see the love. So you can, and this is what everyone's doing within themselves, and that's where they have to start first. But as you look at all the out there, remember we talked a couple of conversations ago about, because the heightenedness of the absurdity, scary, whatever term you're going to use on it, of the out there,
yeah,
we stand in the out there and use it to decode what's going on in here, right? You know, it's that balancing out. But what's happening is that unmasking of the distortions, the unmasking of that which is not the truth of who we are. And kind of funny how, you know, we're right in this point where people are saying, well, you have to put a mask on.
You know, there are folks fighting for the mask, you know that.
Well, I feel very nudged at this point to point out something that is very clear to me through your words, Lisa, and that is for any of those that are joining in this conversation that know and feel yourself to be what we've termed light worker, way shower. That is why what Lisa spoke of there is exactly why you have awoken early. Because what you're speaking on there, Lisa, is a very important part and reason why, in my view anyway, especially like with the two of you, these are things you know,
yeah,
not just about yourself, but about the all, and you hold it in your field and you carry it with you everywhere, and you're able to offer that sort of unconditional love because you can see it, you can feel it. This is exactly the reason, in my view, why there have been those who have, whatever you want to term it, woken up early, way shower, first everythinger, I think Denise LaFay has called it. And that is the reasoning, because as you were sharing that, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, and there's a lot of folks that are partially, I'm calling it partially awake, because you could be awake to the corruption on the planet and not awake to the truth of who you are. And
right.
Until those are married,
that's right.
That's only part of the story.
That's absolutely right.
And there's an awful lot of folks out there who have the, you know, the truth of what has been going on, or at least, you know, immersed in the finding out and the research of that.
Right.
But consider what we're speaking on here to be woo. I've met those folks. We all have. Mm-hmm. And I know too now that is, it's only part of the story. Jim Bixie has talked a lot about that. And so, and I've seen a lot of this, they've heard the woo. They think they know a little bit about the woo, and maybe there's something to it, but you know, it's still woo.
Right, which is one of those interesting things, because they've done research on bringing these things down, and those things are there in the first place to be brought down because they got the woo in the who, and that's what lets them do everything. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why I said I've spoken on this before myself, to say that the marriage of these two things are the only thing that explains it all.
Right.
For me, anyway. And so when you were speaking on that, Lisa, I heard at least one, and probably more, folks going, okay, well, that's all well and good, but I'm pissed and I'm scared and I'm not loving anybody about now. And that's another reason I wanted to bring that out, because that's another reason why it's important that those who feel the way you do and know these things to hold that in their fields for
Right.
that very reason.
Because as those people are saying, you know, I'm pissed and I'm afraid, or I'm a combination of those things. And Lisa was sharing one of the ways that she does that. It's not, I, for one, am not saying anything about don't be pissed. I mean,
Right.
you know, if you're going to be pissed, you might as well be righteously pissed, right? And
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
holding it that way. It's not, so not being pissed for pissed's sake, not being, you know, of getting back and backbiting.
Yeah,
and I'm going to make them
revenge.
pay, and I'm going to stand above you, because frankly, I've been there and done that enough. I don't want to perpetuate this in any way,
Nope.
shape, or form.
Yeah.
So if you can,
you don't stop something by keeping it going.
well,
Start.
that's right. So be righteously pissed, but navigate through it. And one of the ways that I wanted to share that that I use as a tool to do that is gratitude. Because I am incredibly fierce about about doing whatever it takes to aid in bringing this all down. My role, my part in helping all beings of all frequencies to do that. And at the same time, so the other half of that, the flip side of that, is to be incredibly fierce that I won't do anything, and I won't get pulled into or egged into or, you know, chastised into or poked into, right? You know, doing something that adds to that. And so the way that I can navigate, and I've learned in a very powerful way to navigate those two and have the holding, all the while cleaning up all the pokey things and the junk and the trash and all that, for me, that's internal distortion, and then in the collective, is to have the gratitude, so that when I get pissed, and I get, you know, righteously pissed, and I'm fierce about how pissed I am, I look at it and I say, okay, great. So I can sort out that some of the pissedness is from a warrior of light and defending, standing for and defending, and some of it is that we had to go for this, and some of it is that they think they're going to start this again, sort of a thing. But in the gratitude, I can very quickly get myself to a space where whatever that was, something that someone said, something that someone's doing, something moving forward, I can get to a space and appreciate what they've done, what they've materialized as a catalyst to bring that fierceness forward, to bring that pissed offness forward, not hold it, not wallow it, not play with it, not say, oh, okay, this is the new land, it's the pissed off land, right? You know, and we'll show them. Right. But to integrate that, because what that does is it collapses the sine wave. That's what I'm talking about. It collapses that, and it's more powerful than, you know, they were mean to me, so I'm going to be mean to them. Because that's just more of the.
Yes. I saw that. Okay, so nature is sine wave. That's how things move. This inverted, polarized loop of switching shirts. Okay, so you did this to me, now I do this to you. That's a switching of sides and chasing your tail around the same track.
That's
It's
right.
nowhere.
It's not the flow, which we're
The
collapsing.
flow, right. Yes. And the flow is a beautiful thing because at the top of the sine wave, right, you're getting inspiration, you're getting more light, right? And then you're taking that and you're diving deep and you're really bringing that light and you're informing all of your darkness with it. It's a real rich, quiet, meditative, creative, seed forming kind of, and then you have to go up, right? It's like it's all part of it, and if you cut off any part of it, you wind up back into this.
Well,
And that's not what we're doing anymore. So the sine wave, man, that is so important. I'm so glad that you spoke of it in that way.
well, and I'm really grateful that you brought it up in the way that you did, and here's why. Because for me, anytime I have, and of course, everybody's mileage will vary on this, but and I've spoken of this before. Anytime I have some sort of a visceral reaction, and I'm using the term reaction instead of response, because generally pissed off is a reaction, not a response.
Right.
It's immediate.
That's
It's,
true.
oh, how dare they, or whatever, right?
Right.
And so for me, whenever I have anything like that, I vowed to myself to question myself. Okay, I feel it. I'm not saying don't feel it.
Right. Don't
For
deny it.
me, I want to know what's driving it.
That's right.
What is driving it? And then kind of work with it from there. And your depiction there, your explanation, beautifully put, Lisa, about the sine wave. I saw that specifically. Okay, there's the inspiration. Now I'm pissed. Okay, now let me dive deep. Let me find out what's behind that pissed, because there's almost always more than one thing, first of all. Okay, and especially in cases like what's going on right now in the world, we got all kinds of reasons. But for some reason too, when you were speaking on it before, BZ, about the being pissed, it was like it came all over me. There's a lot of when you because I've done it myself, when I find out that I was complicit in something or whatever, now I'm also pissed at me. I'm pissed at them for sure, right? But there's also that that's why I said the diving deep and asking myself some questions
Right.
about this visceral reaction for me, has been very key and very helpful in doing internal work, that
Right.
deep dive that you spoke of there, Lisa.
That's where I find that gratitude, because when when you talked about the I'm pissed at them and I'm pissed at me, or whatever, or various, or maybe I'm pissed at me because I know this is going on, and so that's the gratitude. I'm incredibly grateful, just absolutely wholehearted, full-throated gratitude is just washing through me, and it washes out and washes away the pissed offness, whoever it may be, using that as an example. And then I can have gratitude for it. Not that it means that, someone said, well, how can you have gratitude for bad things and whatever? Because you're missing the point and you're not understanding what the gratitude is. It's an inside job. I can't get where I want to go, and where I want to go is expansion, is full consciousness, is full embodiment, is full of unlimited, absolute abundance, true abundance, to do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want to do it, in the most magical, fantastical, and blissed, heart-centered way. That's what I want. I'm not messing around with the small shit anymore. So when I have that gratitude, that propels me, that lifts me, that expands me to be able to do more of that, step closer to more of that. And the funny thing is, which if you're looking at it from a linear perspective, you'll miss it. But the funny thing is, it is the best way to squash the rat bastard from a linear perspective, because that frequency vibration is intolerable to them. It's painful to them.
Oh,
It assists them in waking up and seeing the thing, and however long on their choosing and their path and their road, whether it's a moment, a day, a millennia, and multiple infinities, it's all up to them. But that, as they do that, they navigate that, they have to pull all those slings and arrows and spears of their own making, in their own frequency, out of them. You couldn't possibly, in your most, despicable, dastardly pissed offness, come up with something that could be in any way, shape, or form near to that in any way than what they will go through themselves.
well, honestly, we sort of brushed up against a little bit of that, I feel, in Knoxville. And what I mean by that is that, the folks that were, the prosecutors, I think they, my read on it, they were expecting all of us that were there for the defendants to be mean and hateful and rude and all of these, sort of things after the fact. And it was not at all the case. And I think it was very surprising to them, because we were just full of love and gratitude, asking to shake their hands. And you're right about how
they really stacked that room too, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they did. The whole room was stacked. And I think, like I said, I think there was some concern, and in regards to the reaction, right, that might occur. Yeah. And it was just a very interesting thing to be a part of, to feel our love and concern for all the other beings in the room, even though it didn't go the way that we all, well, honestly, the way I just knew it was gonna go, right? But so yeah, I just wanted to share that, because we actually witnessed and felt and saw that is so.
Right.
And
because it couldn't have gone any other way, because it's not your regular case, it's because it's the whole enchilada. It's as tied to and as integral and as essential to the Flynn as Flynn's is. It's just in a different sector of those, the different pieces, the three pieces that I labeled below the fold. It's part of that, and it ties right into above the fold.
Right.
People were seeing more and more that all of this stuff is connected.
No, it really is. You're absolutely
a
right.
lot of the same players that did all these things that people are talking about against Flynn and so on and so forth, right, are the same players, exactly the same players.
Yep.
That had a hand in Tennessee.
Yep.
So they're all, it's all of this piece, because it's all theater, because it's how we bring this down. It's how we unwind and unbind it all. And what you're seeing right now, the things that are triggering the fear, the things that are triggering the pissed offness, the things that are triggering the combination of those things, that's all theater as well. Because how do you get, from a linear thing, everybody to wake the fuck up?
Yeah, no, exactly right.
Right? You take away the illusion, you crack it, and you go, hey, this is what really was here all along. You didn't see it. Black widow spiders and shattered glass mirrors, and the angel of death with the rapier and all that kind of stuff it's all around us. We just never knew it.
Yep.
And people are seeing it. That's why you can't fix the old systems, because there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah,
they work perfectly. They work beautifully. They are designed in such a way that is so sublimely sophisticated and gorgeous. And now you're seeing that,
Right.
where you couldn't see it before.
Yeah, the more we move in, the more that with every passing day, and every time we get on this type of a subject, for me, I'm reminded of my conversation with Danny. While we were in Knoxville, how do you tell an entire planet that everything they've ever thought was true is not?
You
And
don't tell them, you show them.
it. Say what?
You don't tell them, you show them. You let them experience it for themselves.
And that's
because telling them, again, is breaking that choice, that rule. It's the non-interference clause, and they experience it, and then they go in the one way or the other. This, however, is the time that each chooses, and it's whatever they choose is beautiful for them. There's nothing wrong with it, that no one should ever try to disavow them of that or steer them in some other way.
No, exactly.
Because they can choose again. It just may be, a bunch of, eons down the road. But there's nothing lost in that path.
No, that's right. Well, exactly right. And when you were saying that, in regards to you really can't, it's because of it going against the directive. Honestly, there's a whole crap ton of us that have been trying to tell, to show, right? So, but we all know you have to, it's not only an inside job, but it has to be desired by the being. No amount of telling will do.
Nope.
Because there's just not. And I because I've come across folks that seem interested and want to know and ask questions and things like that, and then get all glassy-eyed and scared and run away and never come back.
Stumble off and never to be seen.
This has happened many times. But the desire to continue and really figure things out or find things out, it has to be there. And I'm telling you,
anymore. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I allow the other to lead the conversation. First of all, I just know that I know, right? That's enough for me.
Right.
And if I feel called to say something, it's a surprise to me, and I always say it. But sometimes people need to be seen. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because I will actually see you, and I allow you to witness me seeing you.
Right.
And then when I feel them either feel uncomfortable or come closer, because one of two things will happen in this case.
Yeah.
Then I feel that is an invitation to continue. And so then I will start with I just love them unconditionally. I just beam the love. Doesn't matter what the conversation is, and I don't have to worry about saying the right thing or, whatever. I just beam love. And what's funny is when people get what they need, right? They leave. They just go away. And it's super delicious to be consciously aware of, this is another part of me that has come to me for something, right? And so there's a need there. And either it's a need that I have and I'm not yet aware of, or it's a need that they have and I don't know what gift I have. So I just show up. And either way, Doesn't matter to me. I just know that by the act of showing up in that manner, I receive all gifts because I'm showing up open, right? I receive all gifts that are coming, and I offer all gifts freely in love. And so then I know that whatever the interaction is, it was the right one and it was perfect for that moment. And it doesn't always involve words. Very
Right.
rarely, actually, for me, does it involve words. And sometimes if I have to involve words, we get into more trouble.
Right. Well, you know, what you say is beautiful. It's that what I describe as you're meeting them. You are meeting them where they are. They're not missing anything. They don't need anything. And hey, you got the best line. Let me sell you this. Do you really know this shit's going right? You know, and you can do. I do a lot like you do, where I don't say many words. Sometimes
Right.
I do it in a play. I like to do it in a playful way. Like something happened the other day on the phone. I was talking to a motor lodge, I guess it's called.
Okay.
I have a friend who lives in another part of along the Salish Sea in another part of Washington, not that far away, and she keeps saying they don't have enough room for me to stay with them. So she says, well, this is the kind of lodge and they accept dogs, and so give them a call. And you know, if I get a couple of days off, I might go do that. But then I thought, well, I don't want to be, you know, accosted by having to wear a mask. So I called them up and I said, okay, how you doing? And she told me her name. And I said, nice to meet you. And I said, I have a few questions for you. I said, they may sound like kind of silly or weird questions, but maybe you could just play with me and see if you could answer them.
Yeah.
And so I said, are you open? Now she's on the phone and she's talking to me. So clearly, you know, I said, well, but I mean, like, are you accepting guests right this minute? And could I make a reservation? She said, yeah. She said, we have some business. We don't have a lot of business, but yeah. I said, okay, great. And you allow dogs, right? Oh, yes. Okay, fine. That was an easy question. So I said, okay. So here's another one of those kind of funny questions. Do you wear masks, and do you require people to bring masks? And she was kind of puzzled at it. She said, no, I don't wear a mask. Do you want to wear a mask? I said, no, I absolutely do not want and will not wear a mask. This is why I'm having this conversation with you, you know. And it was, so this started this whole conversation because she said, no, I don't wear a mask. And I don't wear a mask. I said, well, that's good because they're really not good for you at all. And she said, you know, I've thought about it. So she was having 99% of the conversation with herself, and I just occasionally go, oh, yeah, well, you know, so she just needed me. She asked me to come to be the potential guest, calling on the phone to have this whole. It was fascinating. This whole back and forth springboard, you know, conversation of things that but there was someone who could listen and wouldn't tell her, you know, this or that or the other thing. And I thanked her very much. And I said, you know, I just had to find out some of the other details with work and this and that, but I would definitely get back to her. And I had to see if the boats were running and all that kind of stuff. And she said, I'm so glad you called. This has just been terrific. So nothing to do, you know, if I forgot all the parts about trying to find things about actually going someplace and booking a room, that was the reason that I called. Because she called me to do it. And so people can do that in all sorts of ways, all over the place. And the word I use is play, where there's no attachment to it. You're just simply playing. You're just, I wasn't trying to say, well, I'm afraid of Max. I'm not, but I just won't do it. You know, it's a mind control thing. It's not good for your health. There's a whole host of reasons. And I'm not head up about it. I just, you know, if I'm going to go across the Salish Sea and have a little bit of time off, I'm not going to have someone walk up to me and go, you got to wear a mask, you know, because I have plenty of, what do you call it, lip service or it's not the right word I'm looking for, kind of example mask in the car, you know, yes, got a mask right here. It's not going on. That's as close as it's ever going to get to me, but I have one.
Well, I know from conversations with other beings of late that are not in North Carolina, that there are some states apparently that are requiring them. And apparently Illinois is one of them. I don't know if it's the entire state, but during my conversation with Sophia Love today, apparently where she is located, it is required to enter a store. And I also know that Kevin, during a live just recently, he tuned in because he was kind of pissed, as he had been told that he couldn't enter a store without a mask. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll shop somewhere else. And he did. He went right down the road and found what he needed somewhere else. So there's a lot of that kind of thing that I feel will present opportunities, much like you just said.
If you go on the IUV, and it's
Mhm.
fairly towards the top of the blog, go for the color of law post, print it out, and carry it with you. And anybody who accosts you with that, you say, great. Do you realize that you are 100% responsible, accountable, and liable for your actions? You're under no umbrella of police officer or anything else. And this is a federal code, and you will adhere to this. And they will back off. They have to actually read it, but they will back off.
Well, yeah, and that's good to know. And I'll make sure to put a link to that in this video, BZ. I'm actually going to be, I just heard, I'm going to be having a conversation with someone ex-military about masks specifically. I'm really looking forward to that. And, but I will put that in there for those who live in areas that are trying to require these things.
Or if someone in your area stopping you to see if you are an essential business or you're going to an essential business, just give them that.
Right.
You know, you might want to laminate one and then have a couple other printed out pieces. But and make sure and I've got it, because if you look at the piece at the top, it shows when it's posted, and at the bottom, so both days it says it's updated. There's a bold part at the bottom is the new updated part as of May 4th, 2020. It's not
Yeah, I
some
saw that.
old arcane thing. It's brand new. And if they don't know, it's a nice gentleman named William Barr, right? He's the Attorney General of the United States. And he will go to bat. So that's the last thing I just wanted to say on this, is that when you're pissed, when you're fearful, whatever it is, we need to collapse the sine waves in that. We need to collapse those things and to go into the full flow of that which is love. And the way that you do that is you must stand up for who and what you are. So using this thing that I talk about is one way to do it. Not be feared. That doesn't mean you have to go out there and, knock down things. It's you do it within yourself.
Right.
Because the moment you do it, you don't have to leave your meditation room. You don't have to leave the nice yard that you have. You don't have to do anything. Once you do it within yourself, it's an energy thing. It's a frequency thing. It's a sovereignty in the singularity of who you are. You're claiming it, owning it, and knowing it. Once you do that, you change everything that's in your circumstance, in your reality, in your vicinity. And you flatten that, you hold that for the all. So as everybody does that, it's not about going up in arms. It's about knowing that within yourself.
No, I fully agree. And I feel it in a way that I never have before. And what I mean about that is that prior to this, event, because I swear, I'm sorry, I'm still on that feeling like this really has been the event. This whole coronavirus thing has been the event in a lot of ways for a lot of different beings. And ever since this, it's like my own personal ability to stand in the truth of who I feel I am in these moments has been easier, more it's like a wow, I just got a whole bunch of chills. It's like a full-on embodiment of the truth of who I am in a way that I've never experienced before. And because of that, it has shifted my thoughts and feelings in regards to waking folks up or feeling the need to red pill someone. I no longer feel that in any shape or form in the way that I used to. Like if you only knew, you would, fill in the blank, whatever, right? That's the kind of frequency I held for a very long time. And it's subtle and yet not for me. I don't know how to explain it. And it's relatively new the way I feel in these moments. But it's like you said, it's a standing in your own sovereignty and your own power. And I mean, I'm feeling exactly what you're saying. I'm not expressing it very well, but and it changes everything in regards to, like I said, I shared earlier on in the week about being in holding that in my field is an informational quality. It's data that others can feel, and I don't have to say a word at this.
You're
It's what you could picture it like from a linear perspective, that you have titanium steel around you, and you are the most magnetic and attractive because the love is, that's why I call it the velvet or the love wrapped titanium. And they can feel it. You look, if someone is familiar, or maybe there's a store or something in your shop there, whatever it is, you look different. They perceive you differently. You carry a different carriage and a different frequency about you, and you hold your true frequency in a much more pulsating and glowing is what wants to come to mind. Because if I was to look at beings doing it, there's a different glow, there's different colors that they emit. But it does it you could say it's your cloak of invisibility, or your cloak of, these are not the droids you're looking for, or this is not the person you want to stop, or this one doesn't need to wear a mask, or whatever it is. And it absolutely does change all of that. And the way that you get it to do that is you consciously choose to take that in, to be that, to embody that, to embody that in all of you, and to know it. This is the time, the series I've been doing is From Fear to Knowing, and that's how you know it. You can do it in small stages if you're not certain, but that's what it's about. So if you take something like that Color of Law piece, and that helps you with that, but one who has that and never, in their wallet or in their bag, or in the glove compartment, whatever it is, and who embodies that already, never has to bring it forward. Just like Obi-Wan, they can just go, like this with their hand, and you're not, because it's the frequency that you hold, and it's that unbridled and masterful frequency, because you're choosing to master it. that's coming forward, and that's how we collapse the old false construct and all of these illusions.
Something came in for me when you were talking about that, Busy. It's cohesive energy. When you're tapped into source and you have love absolute on board, you are cohesive. And you are in tune with the rest of the universe. And it's palpable.
Yeah.
And maybe people don't know what they're feeling, but like you said, they're attracted into it. I thought of a scenario and now it's leaving me. Oh, come back.
Well, what you're describing too is that's cohesive, and then the coherence of the brain, the heart, and the brain, because the heart is leading the way.
Right.
The brain is showing up and going, yeah, I know this. And there's it's irrefutable. Because that's the energy that you put forth.
Yes. Oh, here was the example. I was going to tell the story. Okay, so you were talking about confidently owning that, right? And I was thinking about how, that energy that I'm referring to here, when you hold it confidently and walk through the world, people notice you. And one thing that used to happen to me all the time, and still would happen to Albert in Virginia. We don't go anywhere now, but it used to be no matter where we went. Well, first of all, you wore suits a lot, so that's a thing. And we'd go out to dinner, we'd be meeting or whatever. Anywhere I went, people would stop me and ask me where things were, or they think I work everywhere. I work everywhere. I know everything about everything. As people will ask me the craziest questions. I mean, most sincerely, they mistake me as the only person in the room who knows about X, Y, or Z. And of course, I'm Rose Nyland over here going, I barely know my name. What are you doing? I have nothing for you, lady, but love. But my husband walks through anywhere we go. People think he's been mistaken for Secret Service. He's been mistaken for, again, the manager. I don't care where we are. My husband is the manager because 3 people during our visit will approach him with the situation, which I think is hilarious. But when I would analyze it later, I came to the conclusion that when you have that confidence and that unity, it really shines through to other people, and they feel it. And so they often mistake it for, some authority of some kind for some reason. But when you are the authority of you, I guess
it's the ultimate authority.
Right? And you know it, and you're wielding that. It's palpable. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a very real thing.
Well, it's an oft spoken and referred to line is nothing, absolutely nothing is more powerful than that which is inside of you. And that's what we're talking about right there.
Right.
And you bring it with you bring it with you wherever you go, and it's noticeable. And you don't need to take up the arms or the shield or whatever else it is. I mean, that is your arms. That is your sword of truth and flaming sword and your shield and all of that, because it comes from you. The great thing is it's always with you. You don't have to say, oh, I forgot that card she was talking about to put, it's right there.
Well, what both of you shared just then, what came for me in that is that right now, especially with those who are at that point where their essence is actually screaming at them, right? And there's a lot of fear and and pissed offness, because that's a real thing. By holding what you know to be true. I mean, I've experienced this. First of all, there's a lot of chaos and fear in their field. So when you don't have that, that's a very, because I like I said, I've experienced that, being an older person, not wearing a mask, not afraid of anything, not wearing gloves, touching everything I feel to touch, and all of that sort of thing. Oh, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't have said it quite like that, but you know what I mean.
But you're not walking around afraid of everything.
No, that's right. And so just by holding that, in one's field is well, my interactions are very brief, and they're, in the public, and but it's a noticing that I have that in at least two of those interactions, a fearful being take note that I am not afraid, and that I just kind of think it's kind of silly, and okay, well, I guess it'll be over soon, as soon as everybody's through playing or whatever, it's intriguing for one thing. And I don't know, it does something. Of course, overall, I know what it's doing, because we are all one and yet singular. So every little, minuscule portion that I unwind and unbind, to use your terminology, BZ, within myself, and every moment I sit in that seat of my own power, of who I am, and being sovereign, and knowing, I know what the end is.
It changes everything. It absolutely really changes everything.
It really does. And I so I just wanted to share that, because as both of you were saying that, I feel like, because of the chaos and fear that is in another's field, that's a real opportunity. Just holding it.
Right. It's like a soothing balm, just walking by them.
Yep. Yeah.
Really and sometimes if you like that, I have a couple situations here, if I encounter the same being, it really pisses them off and draws them and intrigues them at the same time. It's it's that, because there is no fear, and there's absolute knowing, right? So within them, it sets off this push me, pull you of, God, you're annoying me. God, you're annoying me. Because I won't rise to any bait.
Well, and I honestly, when you were sharing that right there, that is, when you did this right here, the coming back towards you is their soul saying, wake the fuck up, she knows something.
Right.
And so I like I
said, and note to self, you brought her here. She only stayed up because you called her over.
And it's real subtle, right? Somebody walks by you, right? And you think to yourself, I wonder why she's not wearing a mask. Right? And I mean, it's just that subtle. It's just that what does she know that I don't know? And just asking those kind of questions knock over that domino, right? That create this whole cascade of events to bring you that information, because the universe is desperately asking you to wake up.
Yeah, well, and like I said, each one of us is screaming at us, for ourselves to wake the fuck up. And so the innkeeper, as an example, right? So there's a great person. Not only is they themselves are screaming at them to wake up, but all the other beings who might potentially visit that doing the same thing, because she put herself in that position of that funny kind of odd phone call, right? Which led her. So now that's just a person who meets and interfaces with an awful lot of people.
Yeah.
you know, in that particular place. And it's so it was fascinating to me to kind of watch and experience this conversation and go, well, that's really cool. You know, that I got pulled to pick up the phone at that moment and have this conversation with her. And I could see why. So that she could, you know, all the energetic envelopes that she was creating with all these other beings, that was data that could then be shared or just held if someone wanted to meet it.
Right. Held within her own field. Even honestly, even because look, I'm small enough to see, sense, and feel that my exposure. Now, granted, I'm gonna preface it by saying I get it. I set it up. I called the two of you in. I'm not discounting that. But what I am saying is there was an awful lot of intellectual exercise for, I mean, I got what you were saying. You know, I did. I
I
understood
understand the words that are coming out of your mouth.
That's right. I understood the words, but I hadn't had that alchemical epiphany. So it sort of sat, and of course it was always available to me in both of your fields. And for crap's sake, I'll live in your field, Lisa. So, right? So,
Yep.
I mean, there's just no escaping, right? But my point here is, so I'm exposed to it all that time, and you know, fiercely holding it in her field. Thank goodness, because you know, again, it took a bit, but you know, the alchemical epiphany finally did make it. So just simply, and I was speaking on the person that you were speaking to. So even if it hadn't become an alchemical epiphany for that being, it's still, and it could be, I don't know, because what I, you know, but it's at least in her field. You see what I mean?
It was big time, absolutely big time when I was
Right.
talking in her field. Yeah.
Right. And so even if she hadn't had a chance to integrate it fully, is what I guess I'm getting at here.
Right.
Right. And there's a lot of us beings out there, and I still count myself in on that too. There's a lot yet that I know has not actually become alchemical epiphany for me. It's still a bit of an intellectual exercise, but I'm also fiercely devoted to making sure that it's, I mean, I don't know, I can't name anything specifically, but I'm sure I got something going on because, you know, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, well, the minute you say you don't, you're gonna see one.
That's no, that's exactly correct. So at least I'm aware of that. And
Right.
like I've said before, being aware of something like that is, you know, a big step.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel like when you were sharing that, even if she didn't fully integrate it in that moment, it's in her field. That data is there, available. I mean, I think it's available to everyone because we've been, you know, everybody, not just the three of us, but anyone who is on this path and maybe, you know, would count themselves as way shower or have done a lot of internal work and has been integrating these things and doing the unwinding and unbinding. It's in the field.
Yes.
Anyway, so it's there, it's available. That's why I say for me, I see, I really have had that alchemical epiphany in regards to choice in a way that I cannot unsee and unfeel. And that is that there, you know, there's going to be those who just aren't going to choose to know or choose to wake up, and no judgment at all on that. But there's an awful lot of those that I see, sense, and feel. Like Lisa was saying, we spoke briefly to a person, a being today, very clearly in at least partially in the know, was informing us that he's not going to be chipped. That was pretty interesting little piece of intel that we got. But so it's the folks like that I feel this particular conversation may be in some way helpful, you know what I mean, because they're on the way to that kind of thing. They're a little fearful and pissed because what they think they're seeing is marching straight into tyranny, and forced vaccination and things like that. But the interaction specifically with Lisa's words, I think actually, even if he couldn't hear it and integrate it right then, it's in his field now.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's another conversation we'll have, but we're in charge of how we go and how we flow, and how long do we want to play with the illusion that we're not? Because that's just another game that we're playing. It's just another thing to entertain ourselves and see how far we can take that. And I think basically it's simple to start to understand that all of those games within, and there were, unlimited myriad of them, they've all come to an end. If anybody had any illusion that, getting back to normal, it's gone. I mean, like we've talked about a lot in a lot of the decodings that we did of the pressers and other things, that, anything before March 13th, it's gone. On every segment, every sector, every faction, every facility of life, structure of life, everything doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And that's an incredibly fabulous thing.
Yes. Well, I'm in agreement. I will say this right now. I heard a whole bunch of people go, huh? What? What? So I know that is a conversation we're gonna have to have, BZ. So
I'll write it down.
Yes,
Thank you.
Please do. Wow. This has really been a great conversation, ladies.
Oh, well.
Do either one of you have anything you would like to add?
Not really. Thank you. I had fun.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, BZ.
Good fun.
I'm really glad that you had this little chat with yourself.
Please keep on coming.
Yeah, please. Well, I want to tell everyone that may be watching this on Conscious Conversation Central. If you are not already subscribed to Conscious Conversation Central, please do so. Also, if you're watching it on BZ's channel, The Quantum Playground, come over and subscribe to Conscious Conversation Central, please. And if you're already subscribed to Conscious Conversation Central, go over and subscribe to BZ's channel, The Quantum Playground, which there will be a link straight to BZ's channel there, as BZ does do all kinds of other videos without Lisa and I. So if you want to stay abreast of what BZ is releasing, there's also links in every video that we do together to BZ's blog, the IUV, and yeah, where lots and lots and lots of information is always available for you. And I will be putting a link. I've got a note here directly to the color of law that BZ was referring to. So if you want to print that out and take it with you where you go. Let's see, what else did I want to say? Make sure to hit the notification bell if you would like to be notified when either one of us upload videos and or we go live. As you all may, some of you do know, because you have been tuning in, I go live every morning now. And so, and you never know, we go live at the drop of a hat all the time. Yes, you just never know when the mood strikes. Might just go live. Let's see, was there anything else? Am I missing anything, ladies?
No, that's good. I think you covered it all. And
Okay. Oh, well, there is always ways to get in touch with Lisa, too. Her information is always in there. And I really want to recommend again, if you have not gone to Lisa's blog, Heart Song Musings, she wrote some essays there. Almost 2 years ago now. Some of them might be a little older than that were written for this time right now. So I would recommend to go and take a look see there.
She's got 2-year delta going on them.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Yes, absolutely. Well, ladies, thank you so much. I've enjoyed this.
Me too.
Have a good night.
Till next time.
Much love.